So as the name suggests, 500 mutual friends experiment. An experiment where I asked people to add 500 of my Facebook friends and eventually have 500 mutual friends with me. What is mutual friends? A mutual friend is a friend which is friend with you and is friend with me. So it's a mutual friend. The idea started with a friend of mine who I have never met in person, and she told me once, she was an American, that I add only people who have certain amount of people as mutual friends. And I think she was just trying to brush me off, that she doesn't want to be my friend, but she gave me an idea that this is an interesting concept, that if I have certain amount of friends with a person, that means they trust me more and they add me as a friend. And before that, it was very hard for me to make friends with anyone because I'm a very shy person in personality. I did not know how to break ice. I did not know how to talk and have a conversation. And this gave me an idea that if I want to become friends with a person who is of influence, I can first friend people who are of less influence in their network and then friend them. When Facebook started, Facebook had 5,000 friends limit. You could not have followers or subscribers at that time, and you had to remove someone in order to be friend with someone. So a lot of people in Pakistan started to ask me, I want to be your friend. So I said, well, you know what, if you want to be my friend, you have to have certain number of Facebook mutual friends with me, and I'll be happy to be your friend. So I did this with one specific, I remembered that I asked one specific person to do this, and I noticed that he had a lot of anxiety. He was very impatient, and I asked this to him. He got upset with me, but he said, okay, I'll do that. And he went back, spent some 8 months doing this, and came back to me and he said, well, I've achieved 100 friends, now add me. So I did add him, but I still found him impatient, and he would bother me almost every day asking me silly questions, and I didn't like that. These are questions which he could have easily get answers to from Google or something else, but he was just full of anxiety. So I unfriended him, and he said after a week, what happened? I said, well, now you need to make 200 mutual friends. So he went back and he got angry at me again, and then he still didn't give up, and he made 200 mutual friends. And as the same thing went again, I added him again, and I saw that he had now less anxiety for some reason. I was like, that's cool. And then I added him again after 200 mutual friends which he had, and still he was bothering me, and I still wanted to see what happens if he does add more people. So I unfriended him again, and I asked him, now I will add you when you have 300 mutual friends. And he blocked me. He was so upset at me, he was so angry at me, he just blocked me. He's like, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Months passed, and a few months later I got a message from him, well, I decided I want to be your friend and I will do your task. So he went about, and now he was working to make 300 mutual friends, and I started noticing that he had much less anxiety now. At that time I visited his city, and he actually met me, and I saw that in person he still had a lot of anxiety, and he was still jumping up and down. He was like 19 or 20 years old, and but a big guy. So I spent a few hours with him, came back, and life went on. I was on another event with the President of Pakistan, and a professor came up to me and said, here's a student of mine, and please give him 2 hours of yours to mentor him. I was like, I don't think I'm going to give him 2 hours. He doesn't look like the person I want to give 2 hours to. I was being judgmental. So I said, well, very nice to meet you. I will give you a task. If you accomplish it, I will give you 2 hours. I said, sure. So I said, well, you go to my friend list on Facebook. Here's my Facebook ID, and then you have to make 500 mutual friends, and then I'll give you 2 hours. And he's like, sure, no problem. I was like, cool. I got him off my back. I'm not going to see him again ever, because that's a big task. So a few months passed, and I kept an eye and here and there, and then I saw a friend of mine from Bulgaria making a video about someone running a charity. And now I saw her video, and I played it, and it was a short 3-minute video saying, oh, I am so and so, and there is this charity in Pakistan now I am a activist for, and this is such and such charity. And I was like curious, which charity is this? I remember because this was a pretty woman, and she was very adamant about who she would add on Facebook, and she was a very reserved person, and here she is making a video about a charity in Pakistan. So I went and saw the person she was talking about, and surprisingly, guess what? It was the same boy who was supposed to make 500 mutual friends with me and come and see me. And then I inboxed him, and I saw he had 300 and something mutual friends already. I was like, well, I thought you were going to come and see me. You will make 500 friends and you will come and see me. He said, well, sir, I made a couple of 100 friends, and now I don't need to come and see you because your friend answered all my questions. I was like, what is this? It is so interesting that somehow this boy who didn't look like somebody who would do something, and he made these friends, and these friends already solved this problem. So I was very, very surprised by this result, and I wanted to find a way to do more of this. I have already been asking people who worked with me in the office to do the same thing. I gave them smartphones, laptops to add common friends so they can practice their English. They can talk with them on Skype. They can learn the culture of the business of the customer which they're actually working with. So they were adding, but the results were slow, because they say there is always least light under the lamp, and that's true. So I announced that if anybody on my Facebook goes and adds 500 of my Facebook friends, I will give you a free laptop. And people started commenting weird things on my wall, and I didn't know what will happen. I just announced it, and people were upset that why don't you just give it to anybody who's needy if you have so much money, and weird kind of comments started coming. So a few months passed, and a few months later I got a message from a young man saying, I have accomplished 500 mutual friends and I would like to have my free laptop. I was surprised that somebody actually did it. So I called him up and asked, so what did you learn? What were your beliefs before? What was your mindset before? And I was very surprised that everything he was suggesting that he believed in started to change. He had ambition which was 100x larger. He had goals which were 1000x larger. He had beliefs which were totally changed, because he said he used to hate certain kind of people. He doesn't hate certain kind of people. His biases started to change. Mindset started to evolve, just like you would evolve when you travel, because now you actually have a friend who you're having a conversation with, and they're your friend. You can actually have a deeper conversation. So you're no longer talking about people, but you're now talking with people. And that's a huge change in anybody's mindset if you could do that. We go a little backward on how I started using Facebook. So I'm a very curious person, and I was curious about travel, meeting different kinds of people. So I made the point that I have friends from all over the world. And I remember there was an option in Facebook called Suggest a Friend. So you could go to a friend's profile and then suggest him different friends. So I remember very clearly that I was spending 6 to 10 hours every single day suggesting friends to people. So I would just sit on my computer and I had lists inside Facebook. There was an option where you can make lists, and then you would suggest, I would go to them and I'd say, oh, this gentleman is in computer business, so I would send him 10 more computer people who might be able to collaborate with him. And similarly, oh, he's from Palestine, oh, I will send him 10 friends from Israel today. Oh, he's a Muslim imam, so let me send a Muslim imam from 10 other countries. Oh, he's a Catholic minister in Minnesota, let me send him other ministers from other churches to friend him. And that was very annoying for a lot of people. A lot of people were very upset because they would open their Facebook and they had like 50 friend suggestions in the morning. I was like, a lot of people were very upset with me, but I kept doing it and I enjoyed it. A lot of people enjoyed it. And while I was doing this, I have two particular cases which I remember did really well with this connection. So I did this without asking them, without permission. But later on, I asked two people that I want to request you that I will send you friend suggestion, but I want to request you to friend everyone which I suggest. Don't think about it, just friend them. And one of the person was Mahwish Abdul Sattar, who was later awarded by the Prime Minister of Pakistan for one of the business people. And I remember she came one time and she was asking for $100 job at my office, and she said, okay, I might take this job, but I have one more opportunity, I will go and explore it. And today she's an award-winning entrepreneur living in Dubai, having a wonderful family with a person she found on Facebook. So Mahwish was a girl, and at that time in Pakistan almost there were no girls on Facebook. But she was a girl, she was in a hijab or a niqab, and she said, okay Rehan bhai, I will add everyone. And then she kept adding, and first business she had was with a friend of mine who goes back when I was 13, when I was in Commodore 64 computer software business. She ended up being a partner with this man, his name is Ali Walika, and they started a brand new office, fantastic business, website making, phenomenal thing. And I was like, whoa, how did this happen? Because Mahwish came from a very struggling background, I would say. Not that there is not anything wrong with it. And Ali Walika came from the 10 richest families of Pakistan. Huge mansion. They had their own ocean liners running around in the ocean. So it was a very interesting partnership. But the beauty of Ali's family is that they're not judgmental, and I was very scared when I was friends with him because he was so rich. But I think their family is phenomenal. I'm friends with his brother, his sister, his mother, his father. I say hello sometime, but they're just an amazing family. They're just so humble, down to earth. You wouldn't guess that they are one of the richest families of our country. Anyway, so Mahwish kept growing, and I kept sending her leads and connections, and she was like Miss Popular, and she kept growing her business multiple folds. Another gentleman was from Quetta in Pakistan. His name was Asad, and he did the same. He said, I will add everyone. Now remember, this is early, 2008, maybe 2007, very early time of Facebook, and people were not on Facebook. My first video ever on Facebook was about Facebook, and I was explaining what is Facebook, what is Facebook, why should you use it. and I was requesting people to add at least 10 friends on Facebook. Please just make 10 friends, just add any 10 people on Facebook. And now 15 years later, you meet your rickshaw driver, and he has 5,000 friends on Facebook already. It's a very interesting time. So Asad was adding friends, and then from those friends network, he found an opportunity to go to Qatar, and again he started meeting those people who he started networking with. He became very good at networking, and now he's a senior manager in Qatar Foundation. He organized a TEDx that sent him a projector and all kinds of mobile phone and everything back in the day, 2008 and 9, and almost nobody knew what TEDx was. And but he was adamant, and then we had a TEDx Global Congress, and he went there to Qatar, and then he ended up staying there and had found a job and still there, and he's doing very well for himself. But these two people were just listening to me and just added people like anything, and that and the results they started getting showed me that there's something there which I should explore more. So I kept doing what I was doing, and I kept doing what I was doing. Another very interesting thing happened was that there's another social network called Genie.com, and Genie.com is something that I was spending again huge hours with, 5 to 12 hours every single day, adding my family's genealogy data on it. And interestingly, I had a similar idea to create a social network, and we call it Khandan, which is family in Urdu, and it was called Khandan.us. I think we still own the domain. And for a year and a half, we hired a guy who actually made the software to do something like Genie.com. And I remember clearly I was in China, and I received an email from this man saying, "Sir, have a look at this website, Genie.com. It is doing exactly what we want to do." And then I spent a few hours on it, and then I said, well, I don't think we need to build it anymore. It's already done. So Genie.com I used a lot, and I added all my family. We have 3 thick books about our family. So I hired a data entry operator, and they entered everything about my family in the Genie.com. And eventually I started connecting them together. Some family people were upset, why are you putting our data on the internet? But still I kept doing it, and I started to find other Allahwalas, which is my family name. When I was younger, always people were asking, are you related to this Allahwala? Are you related to this Allahwala? How are you related to this Allahwala? And this is what struck me, and that's why I was creating Khandan. And I really wanted to know how am I related to this person, because these persons were like big rock stars, and I didn't have the balls to go and talk to them. I didn't have the courage to go and talk to them. So they wouldn't talk to me. I was just a young guy, a nobody, who also thought of himself as a nobody. So in Genie.com, I ended up, I was searching, and I found that there was Adam in there and Eve, and then I searched and I found Prophet Muhammad in there. I was like, whoa, wow, this is interesting. I actually have a data till that. And in Genie.com, what you could have done is you could create a whole, like a tree of your family, and then you can merge that tree later on with another person's family. So if you had another stranger adding the same great grandfather in somewhere in the world, and Genie would suggest that this person looks the same, maybe you're related. So I started looking for those people, and I started merging the trees. And when I started merging the trees, very interesting things happened, and I found ambiguities in history. I found very interesting stuff out there. But I was very curious about the genealogy of the Prophet Muhammad, so I spent hours and hours every day fixing it on Genie.com, hoping to correct the history of our past. So when I was doing that, somehow Genie.com discovered me, and they sent me gifts and made me a thing called curator. And I became one of the 10 curators on the planet on Genie.com. And I have had superpowers inside Genie.com to go and merge any tree. So instead of asking Genie.com to merge certain tree, they gave me the power. We trust you, go ahead and merge it. And there I discovered a gentleman who's from Israel. Now I think at this point I had no friends from Israel, and I searched for him. I started talking to him on Genie.com, and I searched for him on Facebook, and I sent him friend request on Facebook. His name is Kam Shemuel, and he said, "I'm sorry, I don't add anybody on Facebook, only my family." I was like, okay. So I said, well, would you adopt me? Can I be your brother or something? So anyway, he did not want to be my friend on Facebook, but for 6 months I kept trying here and there, messaging him, and he eventually added me as a friend. So he became almost my first friend from Israel on Facebook, and I was like, yes, I have somehow finally met an Israeli on Facebook, and now I can ask him, why do you do this to Palestinian? Why do you do this to Palestinian? And I could actually ask these questions. And when I added him, a week later, I sneaked in my mom's. I asked from her Facebook ID, sent him a friend request, and then my wife and my daughter and my son. And he's like, why am I getting all these friend requests? I said, well, they're my family. So you're my family, you can be friends with them. So he was not very happy about it, and I call him a very angry man. He still says that he's not a very angry man, but I think he was similarly anxious and upset about things on the internet, like other people were in my circle. But he started adding, and then through him I probably met some other people, and he added my family. So he had like 5 Pakistani friends now or something like that. It's this first time in his life he's meeting some Pakistanis. It's the first time in our family's life somebody's meeting from Israel, and we were just having chit chats, no deep conversation. Then sometimes I would ask questions on my wall, right? One of the most provoking questions which I was asking is on my Facebook wall, which upsetted a lot of people, and I even received a death threat once. Can a Muslim man marry a Jewish girl? And I know the answer for that. And I ask questions on Facebook not because I want answers, but because I want people to think of the question. When you think of a question, you will either say whatever the answer is in a comment, and then you will find people who disagree with you. And when you find people who disagree with you or agree with you, you all of a sudden start to find your tribe. You're like, why is he disagreeing with me? I'm the right person here. So this kind of questions would create heated debate on my Facebook wall. And this was very interesting because slowly and gradually I collected people from all over the world. And this thread, I remember, came 2015, I would guess, or maybe 17 or 16. So by that time I had a lot of Jewish people on my Facebook. I had a lot of Palestinian people on my Facebook. I had a lot of people on my Facebook, and they would just go left and right about fighting on these questions, right? And very interesting thing was happening in these comments. The debate would go on for 3 days, and I would see that after 3-4 days, these people who were fighting became friends on Facebook. And that was again a shocking thing for me, that how can a person who is like literally ready to kill someone, he can't because he's on Facebook, he doesn't have any way to do physical violence, but they're becoming Facebook friends. That was very intriguing. So I kept doing this and doing this and doing this, and some people became friends, some did not. Some started to hate me, some started to think I'm some kind of a secret agent have a secret agenda using Facebook for some kind of something, which I don't know what it is. They never say. Whenever I ask someone, so why do you think I'm doing that? The answer always is, So I don't know. You're not answering us. You know the answer. And I'm like, I don't know. If I knew, I would have known. I wouldn't ask you. But people coming in from past, people coming in from, I would say, before the internet era, before the Google era, have a lot of bias and judgments inside us based on things which we have heard from our parents, our culture, our friends. Later I discovered that 70% information which we consume or believe does not come from books and school. It comes from our neighbors and friends. And I kept doing what I was doing, and kept asking questions, keep living my life, and things started to evolve and change.